name is Dr. Hanifee bin Zawawi from the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences. I'm from the Department of English. Right now, I'm working on developing a video game which is tasked to basically assess students' ability to judge good arguments from bad arguments. Right. So, technically, to develop the game, once the game has been developed, we'll use it more or less to basically experiment whether students find it useful for their learning and whether this can be implemented in a much more larger scale. The reason why I started this project is simply because I'm teaching a subject called writing about literature, right? So within that course, there's an assessment where we have to do argumentative writing, right? Now, generally, of course, we want students to be able to know how to write an argument, but most of the time they are not able to tell whether this argument is good or bad or give solid reasons as to why they think this argument is good or bad. And with the advent of AI, there's a lot more, it hobbles my ability to actually assess whether these are the students' own argument or is it generated, So I am quite a bit experimental, so I like to and I've got my hobby is also playing video games, so I thought I'd mix that up together to see if I can come up with a video game that will allow students to, again, leverage the use of generative AI to produce good and bad arguments in order for them to critically assess whether these argumentations are actually good or bad or not, and then to have that tactile feedback of marking it like a teacher would. In a way, if I were to put it, basically the game actually asks you to role play as a lecturer, marking students' arguments, right, in that sense. And that is kind of the significance of it, because I wanted to how do I deal with the rise of AI, but at the same time, how do I make learning about argumentation a bit more fun? And the kind of impact I hope is, again, it's a video game, right? Generally, I'm hoping that people latch onto this. And there's a lot of games that ask you to be critical and, produce social impact, so on and so forth. That's not necessarily the aim per se, but if it can get to that point where it has a much more larger cultural impact, even global, if it becomes a bit more popular, then, I'd be happy for that. It's actually quite common in a lot of video game development. There's something called feature creep, right? So which means that when you start stewing on the idea, you want to add more things to it, maybe you can include this, maybe you can include that. Coming from someone whose hobby is to play video games, I get the sense that, I had fun doing this in this game, maybe I can incorporate that into the game. But obviously, with zero experience in game development and a whole list of things that I want to do, I had to manage my expectations. Let's trim it down to just 3 core things that you want, and that's it. That would be the prototype of the game, right? Everything else maybe we'll work on later. But that's the first experience I had with this notion of feature creep, where there's a creep. I creep up. I want to do more and more and more things, but I had to save myself from actually burning myself out in a sense. As I said, feature creep is something that happens in a lot of video games. But my thought process was, okay, I needed to nail down what are the 3 things that I'm sure I want to have in a game that is playable. It's a game that, regardless of whatever is lacking, people can have fun with it. So I've narrowed it down to 3 features that I want. And my goal now becomes a bit more, focused, in the sense that, okay, I need to learn how to get these 3 features nailed down, these 3 elements of the game nailed down, and then I have a game. But I think those are the ways that I've overcome the challenges. At the end of the day, my thought process is always obviously thinking about it globally, thinking about it as a product is always very exciting. But at the end of the day, to be honest, when I started this project, it's simply because when I taught argumentative writing in the class, I thought, man, this is boring. Right, I need to do something to make it much more interesting. Right? So, if this can become a full-fledged game, imagine me coming into class and all right, open this particular. It's probably going to be a web-based game, right? So that it's easily accessible to anyone who wants to use it. Open this website. Okay, all right. So this is a game developed by me and my friends, right? Let's play this game. Let's learn how to write an argumentative essay. So that would be a lot more fun than just coming in and being able to do research in that sense. All right. So yeah.